It is Sunday night. It's time for another live recording of the Auburn Experience podcast right now with myself and Austin Scott. We're going to get this thing underway, talk a little March Madness and everything else that we can relate to the Auburn Experience coming up right now. War Eagle Auburn family, War Eagle E2C Network family, welcome back to another live recording with myself, Kyle, and then Austin back in the saddle. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Kyle. War Eagle to you. Man, one of the best weeks of the year on the sports calendar, if not the best. I'd
It is
go
the
out
best.
and say it is the best. And it has been so much fun. All things aside, our Auburn Tigers being eliminated, but I love these last 4 days more than just about any 4 days on the sports calendar, Kyle. It is always a blast. The rest of even the rest of the NCAA tournament is so much fun. But when you can just like keep up with multiple games at one time, have as many screens out as you want, I will never get over it. Truly, never.
Yep, I agree. We're going to talk a lot about that, I'm sure, in the podcast recording here. But for the viewers, if you see me looking over here, there is one FDU trying, hoping, praying that they can be the 16 seed that does the impossible and continues to move on. Because I don't believe UMBC, when they upset Virginia, moved on after that second round, right?
No, I couldn't tell you who they lost to, but they did lose the next round.
So we are in a situation as of right now, for those of you that watch this live recording, on the replay at this moment, FDU is in the second half and it's tied up at this moment. And they were on a little bit of a run too. So I will do my best to not be distracted, but you may see me doing this throughout the show tonight. And we might even address it.
Wonderful.
It is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So do a couple things for us. As you guys normally know the trend, see a couple of people already doing that. Smash the like button as you come in, post where you're watching from, your check-in period here with the War Eagle. Would love to hear who's here hanging out with us. And obviously we will take some questions or comments if you have them here. So go ahead and put those in. But my guess is, for my and Austin's sake, we're probably going to want to cut out right towards the end there. I might take a few questions after we stop recording, but because there's only one more essentially game left by the time we get done with this, at least for me, I'm going to want to go enjoy the last waning moments of the opening weekend of March Madness. So that's kind of what our agenda will be tonight. We're going to hit a lot of March Madness Auburn talk about that. This is the episode 28. So Austin, anybody?
Oh man, I haven't even thought about this. Trey Matthews wasn't 28, right?
No.
Or was he? He wasn't 26.
I thought he was 26.
Was he 28?
Let's find out.
That's the one that jumped to the top of my head immediately.
That may be it, actually. It is the Trey Matthews episode.
There you go. There you go. Trey Matthews.
Dude, look at this picture of him when he was on the Green Bay Packers roster. He had shaved his head. That is wild, man.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I mean, obviously I recognize his face, but seeing him with a bald head is incredible.
I can't think of anyone else that would have been 28 in Auburn history.
Yeah.
That's not a super
popular number.
Yeah, I feel like that's reserved for the secondary. Oh, wait. Boobie Whitlow.
Boobie Whitlow
was 28. Man, the rabbit holes we could go down.
Yeah, we could go
on Boobie
a lot
Whitlow.
of these things here. Unbeaten Lake says the day after we exit the tournament is always one of the worst and saddest days of the year. Yeah, and just remember this, folks. There was a day where you wouldn't even have to be sad because we never made the tournament. So it's kind of like that cliche, overused, but I love it, Winnie the Pooh saying, how lucky I am to have something so wonderful that makes saying goodbye so hard. I mean, think about it. Like, there was a time we didn't enjoy this as much. So
it definitely
is up by one.
Kyle's going to give us play-by-play. It definitely, and we can get into this. I'll probably get into it a little bit in the episode, but it definitely adds an element to my March Madness experience now that I have like a legitimate rooting interest.
Yes.
Like for the majority of my sports comprehension life, I didn't have really of a rooting interest other than who I picked for my brackets,
Right.
And we all know that, your brackets are shot by Saturday. So if not
Yes.
before, and so I really enjoy. I think back to the 2021 year when we self-imposed or are not participating in March Madness,
That was
and
awful.
after tasting like being involved in it, and on top of how much fun March Madness is, it wasn't the same. And so I cannot overstate how much I love Auburn being in it on top of March Madness itself.
Man, that just brings up feelings next. I remember how like defeated I felt at that point. Like when we were self-imposed ban after the hype of the previous year. It just, and then, you know, I'm getting my sequence out or my seasons out of sequence there. But there was the, cancellation year too. So it was just kind of like all of this. We could
Yep.
never get the hype maintained, all that kind of stuff.
But yeah, I mean, Auburn didn't go to the tournament 2 years after, or 2 years straight after the Final Four.
Mm.
It was crazy.
Brian says we can't talk Packers because it's like talking Bama. Now, listen, I have a lot of history and family ties to the Packers, and they have hurt me dearly because they continue to draft way too many Alabama players. Now, I know that's hard to do these days, to not do that these days, but so I would say my affinity towards the Packers has waned over the years, but I'll at least have some fondness towards them.
I guess Brian says that because he's a big Vikings fan, I would think, in Minnesota.
I'm guessing so. I think you're stepping out on a limb there. It's pretty
Yeah.
solid limb, though.
Brian, your recently newly signed backup quarterback is a friend of mine who we went to high school together. So
What? Who?
Nick Mullins would be your backup quarterback.
Oh,
I
look at
think
you.
he's sticking around. So I cheer for the Vikings especially when Nick's playing.
Cool. All right, we're going to go ahead and move right into recording here. Again, stick around a little bit after. I'll probably take some questions, but we'll let Austin kind of get going too, because I know he probably wants to do some of those things too. And I'll get out of here fast too. What we're going to hit in this episode, obviously a lot of basketball, March Madness talk, probably will dictate the majority of what we discuss in at least two segments. We're going to do a little bit of Auburn potpourri, bouncing around to a lot of the other things that happen because we've missed that the last couple of times at the very beginning. So that's what's on tap for you, Austin. If you're ready, we will get started.
I'm ready.
In 3, 2, 1. David Housel said it best, the whole of the Auburn experience. It encompasses so many different things, people, yes, places other than Auburn too. So many different variety of things, but at its core is all about our sports. It is all about our culture and all about our family. And because it's all about family, we've got to have an Auburn family member here alongside myself, your host, Kyle Loomis, my co-host joining me for episode 28 of the Auburn Experience podcast, Mr. Austin Scott. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you, sir. War Eagle to you, Kyle. Episode 28, as we've already talked pre-show with our good friend Brian, the Trey Matthews episode, his first two came to my mind after some short research, the Boobie Whitlow episode, who, both of those individuals, very unique careers at Auburn and how they got there or how they left Auburn. And so, this is sure to be just as unique of an episode, right, Kyle?
I'm sure. Listen, we've had a lot of unique things happen on this podcast. You dropping your, computer. Actually, that was off of the actual
post show. Yep.
But it lives on in perpetuity, though. Just go look for it. It's somewhere on Shorts or something like that. I put it out there for everybody to find. Probably one of the most repeated things that we've ever put out there, and it's awesome, but sad at the same time that's the thing that everybody latched onto from E2C Network. You dropping your camera.
It's kind of like America's Funniest Home Videos type things. Like everyone loves to see someone get embarrassed or get hurt, and it's all in good fun, And so we don't take it personally here. It's all in good fun, but we put out a lot of good other content too.
We do. So let's get into some of that. We have not been able to take on what we love to do at the beginning of every Auburn Experience podcast, Auburn Potpourri, where we just hit a lot of different things, especially maybe smaller topics that maybe don't warrant, at least on the surface, a full discussion about them, a full segment, because we know what we're dealing with right now, especially those of you that are listening to this podcast directly when it comes out. Auburn's out of March Madness in a very sad fashion. We're going to get to that. So just hold tight. We'll talk some more March Madness stuff too. For this one, though, let's do a little bit of bouncing around. I'll start us off, and you can respond to Austin however you'd like to, and maybe take us wherever you'd like to. How about let's talk about Niffers. They got their new sandwich, the Cadillac, out. Right. Well, I guess it's out and available now. They've announced it. Did they say that, Austin? Is it available to
Um,
sample now?
that that's a good question. I didn't see that, that doesn't mean it's not true. I just haven't looked into it. But that's a good point. I might have to go sample it for you and provide
I
feedback.
think it's homework that you have to have. I mean, just saying.
Yes, but it is out. You and I texted about it right as we saw it.
We did. We did. I will say that you and I think had a lot of more creative ideas, but still looks good. It looks like a solid kind of one of those things that you would expect a lot of people. That there was some barbecue involved,
Mhm.
some Wickles. Was that right? Wickles pickles.
Yep,
What else was in there? White sauce.
yeah, white sauce, some coleslaw, I think. A good old down home meal for sure. And I think too, because it wasn't as crazy or like you said, creative as some things you and I talked about or suggestions we saw, but it's definitely feasible for Niffers to
Oh
to
yeah.
get a lot out of. I think they're going to make a lot of them, especially here at the beginning. So it's a good suggestion. It will do well, I think. And congratulations. We do not remember his name, but congratulations to the man who will get. I think he gets one a month for a year or something like that.
That's
And
awesome.
so, I mean,
Stay.
if he's in college, that's pretty valuable right there.
That is dangerous, my friend.
Yeah.
Because if I could look, I love a lot of things at Niffers, corn nuggets especially.
Mm,
But their fries too are really good. And so that's going to be the
yes.
problem for me if I had one, is the fact that I get access to those fries once a month. And oh boy. But we're happy to have that in the repertoire, whether Austin goes and samples it first, or I will definitely try to make a point to do that myself, just because I love Niffers. So it's exciting news to have that out there. Want to take us maybe into the sports realm here. Some good things related to this time of year with basketball and March Madness. Women's basketball, as of this moment, is still in the WNIT tournament,
They're
having
dancing.
won they are dancing, baby. So don't take off your dancing shoes right now, Auburn fans. I mean, if you're listening to us on the normal day, it's released on Mondays for the audio version. It's happening at any moment now. I think it's at 6 o'clock or something like that on Monday, 7 o'clock, somewhere in there. But as of this moment, they are still dancing. And I think a great step in the right direction for Coach Johnny Harris and that program.
Oh, absolutely. And it's good to see that they get into the postseason, get some of that experience, hopefully to get in the big dance next year. But I mean, not just getting in, but you get a first round win, a first round home win.
Yep.
And so that's exciting for Auburn fans to be able to see this team in action, continue to garner a little more support. And they're making it to the round of 32. So, that's as much as the men did. So, I mean, that's pretty good right there.
Different
Granted, it's the
tournament.
different
Different
tournament,
tournament.
different, same sport.
Yeah. The round orange
And
ball
so,
it's all the same, right?
yeah, yeah, that's right. And so now they're going to get to go play. So you said that's tomorrow. They'll go play our
I
our
think
our our cousins of the north.
are they really that much? I mean, I guess they're northern of Auburn, but really about, I guess they're technically still northern of where I am. I'll be honest with you. I thought about making a real quick trip up there. I don't know that I can justify it right now. But it is very enticing to drive about 2.5 hours, depending on traffic, just to go and support Johnny Harris and this team at
Yeah,
Clemson and see, Auburn with the lake, as they call it.
that's right. I did that drive in college for when we went up there for football, and I mean it was 3.5 from Auburn. Like
Mm.
we were joking that they are cousins of the North, but yeah, I hope a good Auburn contingent ends up there. It's exciting and
Yeah.
good to see Auburn in the postseason of any form for Auburn women's basketball.
Yeah. Other little thing that we want to mention, sports, good things as well. Gymnastics is still in the middle of their postseason action with the SEC championships. Now, obviously, we're hoping for those. We won't go into the details of it, but there's 2 sessions usually with the SEC championships. If you're one of the better squads, you're in the later session. Auburn was in the first session of the day, but was the top team coming into that session and ended up winning the session overall and doing fairly well. we must give a shout out to Cassie Stevens, who is now a co-SEC champion on the vault, I think is what it is.
Yes, vault, I think, and was named Scholar Athlete of the Year for gymnastics. So, no
Cleaning
one's
up.
surprise, Cassie Stevens doing an incredible job this year, and yeah, really proud for her. Really proud of the team for doing well, and almost, what we watched the second session that night and almost edged out Kentucky to place fourth overall. That's without Suni Lee, folks, and so that's a big step in the right direction for this team to prove that they're not just an Olympic champion and the rest of the gang. So I'm excited for the future and the rest of this year for what it's worth.
Yeah, I think it's a really good sign for those people and those detractors of the gymnastics program mainly outside of Auburn that would say, well, you're just that good because of SUNY, or you're just that good because of Darian. I present to you Cassie Stevens, and
Hmm.
co-SEC champion. Obviously, no one really gets super excited about the academic side of being a scholar athlete, but that's still an important thing that you are able to accomplish that while you're doing these great feats here. It only adds to your accolades even further.
Absolutely.
So it's a really good time seeing that happen during, maybe I will say, a little disappointing the way that the season's working out, whether that's because of results or because of Suni having to deal with whatever she's got going on right now, not being able to compete at the moment. I just think that the fact that we've had somebody step up like Cassie and others as well is gone on to show that this program is still where it needs to be outside of superstardom, so to speak. It's a good
Yes, no,
sign.
absolutely. And I think the like you mentioned, Cassie is proof of that. Olivia Hollingsworth and her progression over the years, proof of that.
Gabby
Auburn had to
McLaughlin.
Absolutely. Auburn had to start two freshmen at the SEC championships this past weekend in their normal rotations, and one had to start their entire meet. I think Hannah Hagel had to start off on vault of the very first event of the SEC championship. Welcome to the big show, kid. So, that's big, and it proves that what they're seeing in practice is working, and Coach Jeff Graba is doing a great job with this group, and so I'm excited for the future. Auburn fans should be excited for the future post SUNY, and that these things continue to happen.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I know it's a tough time for Auburn fans right now, mainly because of the way the big three is going right now: football, men's basketball, and baseball. But I promise you folks that there are plenty of things, that sports or otherwise, that are great things that happen at Auburn. And we just covered some of them right here. So if you're feeling sad right now, there's a good reasons to kind of cheer up just a little bit. But now, but now we must talk about the yes, happy things of March Madness. But let's first tackle the bad stuff. We can maybe talk about in second segment more just generic March Madness, and I'll maybe even talk a little bit about my experience at Auburn's appearance in that regional game. Auburn beat Iowa and had a very impressive showing, to be honest
Yep.
with you. In person, it looked great. Some scary moments here and there, but what Auburn basketball game hasn't been a little bit scary this year? You just kind of, it's been amazing to me, Austin, whether it's here on this YouTube channel, online, on social media, the amount of people that are still shocked that you're going to be having your heart racing this year with this team, but also as an Auburn fan. Like, that's, hello. I mean, this is what you signed up for. You signed up, you're a glutton for punishment. So just settle in, enjoy the
Yeah.
ride.
Well,
This is what it is.
it's what you sign up for. What's the medication SEC shorts did?
Oh,
Fanzatol.
fans, it's all, and we were like the
Fanzatol.
headliner for that. Yes.
Yes, I mean that's just what you get as an Auburn fan. It's never dull. It's always going to be exciting, positive or negative, and so that's how it is. And you get good hills and valleys with that. And the Iowa game was certainly a peak moment. It looked like that is the Auburn team that we know this team has potential and capability of, and they showed out in front of a very home crowd, and that's exciting. That's exciting for Birmingham. That's exciting for Auburn to get to play in a postseason game like that. And so I think that shocked a lot of people, but for good reason. That is a Bruce Pearl coach team, and they can be dangerous in the tournament when they put it all together. When they don't
What do
put
you
it all
think?
together, can
Yeah.
be another thing.
Yeah, we'll get there. Let's dwell on this just for a little bit here. What do you think that we did so much better against Iowa? Now, let's go ahead and acknowledge the difference in the opponents here. You're doing an 8-9 matchup in your first game. You would expect it to be an even game, which it was for the most part. I think Auburn pulled away at the end, obviously, but for a little bit. But you're playing a number 1 seed in Houston, which we'll talk about in a second. What do you think Auburn did differently or better or whatever in that first game that made them so successful against Iowa?
Made their free throws.
Austin, you're not supposed to get me riled up this quick, okay?
Outside
Just
of
so
that, outside of making your free throws, I just felt like they were attacking and sharing the ball, and just playing cohesively. And I think you even saw that some in the first half against Houston when things were going really well, and then just kind of got away from it. But in the game against Iowa, they were confident. They were shooting confidently, and just taking advantage of different mismatches, no matter who it was.
right.
There wasn't a concern about who gets theirs or who's the hot hand. It's just a matter of playing together, making sure whatever player has the best look is taking that shot. Uh, and and it showed, that, like you said, there were scary moments in that game where it looked like we're going to let Iowa creep back in, and in an 8-9 game, it's going to be pretty even. That's going to happen.
Right.
But Auburn playing together was the best team on the floor. I think you could say that about a lot of the games throughout Auburn season. When they played together, they were better than their opponent. When they didn't play together, it was pretty obvious that they were going to get beat. So I think that was the biggest difference between the first and second round games.
Yeah, I love the freedom that Bruce Pearl gives his players, and I think a lot of people struggle with that at times because they'd like to see a little bit more what they perceive as structure. And I think people don't understand that there is a structure there to what they do, but there's also a freedom that I really value as a former player too. That I saw, especially my senior year of high school, when my head coach figured that out as well, that when he just let us just go have fun, essentially, that we became a more cohesive and well-performing team. So I see that a lot with them, and I saw some of that come out. I've been talking all this year, and I'm doing this on camera for those on the audio podcast. This little bit that I've been talking about all year finally realized. Well, it'd been realized in other games, but realized in this game. Whether that was because we got extra contribution in terms of double-digit points scored by, I think it was 6 different people that night, but it felt different. This was the team that I knew that they could beat. I've said all season, this basketball team could have beaten anybody in this league, anybody. And I mean that, but they also could lose to anybody because that's just how up and down that they never found that solid ground to stay on. And commend them for the fight, the drive, and the togetherness that they showed the majority of this, if not all this season. And Bruce Pearl talked about that some of in his press conference, talking about how these guys could have just laid down as many tough losses as they had, but they didn't, and showed up in that Iowa game in a big way. And so it was a great way to continue an 11-0 streak in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Now, we do have this apparent streak that is developing of losing in the second round. Not streak, I guess I shouldn't say, but propensity to lose in the second round. And
Yeah.
I will say, I thought we were going to break that in that first half versus number 1 Houston. And Sasser was his name. He was a little sassy individual. But boy, does he make up for that sass he gives with being able to play basketball. I got to give credit where credit is due. So I will ask you the opposite question, Austin. What went wrong in game 2?
Yeah. I'll start with the same answer I gave the first one. Free throws.
I got a headache right now.
That's the easiest thing to look at, right? But I think the other thing too, and some of the players kind of brought this out talking post game. Houston clamped down on defense after halftime. They made adjustments. I'm sure their coaching staff got after them and said, "Hey, you're about to get run out of the gym as a number 1 seed, whether you're on their home court advantage or not." And Auburn didn't quite adjust. I think even Bruce mentioned it post game. We expected the second half defense to come from the jump from them, and it didn't. And then once that kind of didn't, I think we kind of fell into a lull where we were like, well, I guess we're just our stuff is working, and we didn't quite adjust. And I'm not saying they didn't plan to not adjust. I think our guys just didn't come quite as easy. And when you're given opportunities like getting to the free throw line and you don't take advantage of them, that's just not going to work in the NCAA tournament, especially
Right.
against a 1 seed. I don't care if you're 2 hours from home or not. And so um,
Can we
it's
can we
really,
address this too? Can we address this home court advantage that Houston claimed that we had? I'm sorry, did you see the makeup of the arena that night? It would have been that way had they not put Auburn and Alabama in the same arena for different regions on the same night. It was Alabama's home court advantage, not ours. Did we have a significant amount of people there? But we would have had that regardless because we travel well. That's just what we do. And that's why we got the Birmingham matchup.
yeah,
I'm sorry, folks. If you want to have a more favorable matchup, prove to them they can make money off of you. And I'll get to that in a little bit, but sorry, that was just
yeah,
this notion and this complaint that Houston's head coach had about, oh, I guess we should have been
yes,
a number 9 seed so we could get a home court advantage. I'm like, buddy, ain't nobody had a home court advantage except for Alabama.
no.
So anyway, sorry.
No, yeah, and it definitely would have been an excuse had we won. But there's nothing to not there's no way to talk about this game and talk about Auburn's missed opportunities than talk about the free throw strike because we all watched it. It was painful every single time the ball rimmed out or didn't make the net. Uh, they missed their chances that were given to them. There's no excuse on not getting calls. There's no excuse on uh, tight. Yeah, I mean, Houston played great defense. Don't get me wrong, but Auburn, the most open shot that you are guaranteed on the court is from the free throw line when no one is allowed to be near you. Near, as in affect your shot, and Auburn missed over half of theirs. And that's not going to work in the tournament. It's just not going to work. I don't care what court you're playing
Mm. Austin, I've done, I think, really well to keep my emotions in check publicly on post-game streams tonight about free throws. And listen,
on.
I said this last night. There's no one that feels worse than Janai Broome with his free throw struggles, and that's was really odd
No,
because he is not that bad of a free throw shooter. Like he's actually for his
no,
size, he's actually a really good free throw shooter.
he had a bad
And some
day.
night, it's remember what happened last year in the second round game. Jabari Smith and Walker Kessler forgot how to play basketball for one game, or at least effective basketball, the way we were used to them doing. And we lost. And we figured out that without those two doing what they do, we really needed some help in some other areas. And we weren't getting that outside of them. That's the reality of what that kind of season mounted to. This season, if you don't make your free throws, you're going to lose a game. I mean, I'm just being honest. Like it's the reality in any basketball game. Free throws win and lose championships. But we don't want to sit here and lament about this. We are still proud of these Tigers for what they fought through this year. A lot of great moments, up and down moments, yes, but a lot of great moments. And the great thing is we've got a lot to probably speculate and talk about for the future as opposed to with this team. We'll do some sort of maybe wrap up of everything, look back when we've got some time, but we're kind of getting to the end of a bunch of winter sports storylines. So we'll kind of wait a little bit and kind of let the dust settle before we do that. But fun time in Birmingham for March Madness for Auburn. So in this next segment, I just want us to maybe dive into March Madness in general and talk about maybe some experiences that I had too. I will tell you, Birmingham and Auburn and Alabama being together was quite an interesting mix. To say that it felt like I lived through these days, but like I wasn't cognizant of it like I am now, where Birmingham was the mecca, the central for all things Auburn, Alabama. It felt like that had reemerged again, even though we weren't playing each other. Literally seemed from every aspect, took over the city, lines out the wazoo to get there. So I'm just sharing a little bit about my experiences there. I went to the first game. First time that I think I've ever been in now known Legacy Arena, but I believe it's called the BJCC, whatever you want to call it. Supposedly they had renovated it. Never knew to it the old way. So it looked good to me. I talked to some other individuals that said, I mean, they put some new lights up and stuff, but it's basically the same old Legacy Arena. but had a pretty good experiences. I will say there was not a bad seat in the house in terms
Good.
of a view. Now, of course, if you sit behind the goal up in the upper deck, you're going to have a somewhat limited view. But I just looked around. We had decent seats up in the upper deck, so I was not in any way unhappy with where I was sitting. But I enjoyed the heck out of that. Auburn fans, you showed out. And don't let anybody who speculates on social media saying this is a disappointing showing when they weren't looking past the expensive seats down there, which were meant for like parents and all these other stuff. Upper deck was all orange and blue for that game, at least. It was an incredible showing for the Auburn fan. Did it look like that to you on TV?
Yeah, the first couple rows it took a while, and I heard there were long lines that I think you could see it trickle in over the course of especially the first game. But when they would pan out, it was so obvious how full it was, and how much orange, how much blue was in there. So uh, it doesn't surprise me at all the showing, but I think those criticizing it's a very limited scope of what you're looking at.
A lot of context missing from that. And some of these people,
Shocker.
yes, some of these people do it just so they can get the reaction. And so when we feed into it, we just give them what they want. But I commend the Auburn family for showing up and showing out. Here's my one complaint, and then I want us to talk some just general March Madness stuff. Ticket prices for the second game. Now, let me talk about context because we just got to talking about how that was missing from people criticizing what they thought was a poor showing from Auburn in the first game. There were two state schools in the same arena on the same day. One's a 1 seed, so one of the best seasons they're ever having. Auburn's could have one of the best seasons. We just never know with them, and just they look great against Iowa, look great for the first half against against Houston. You just never know what you're going to get. So the excitement's there, the hype's there, the drive to drive up prices is there. And then we get people selling their tickets, and I'm not talking about lower deck or lower level, whatever you want to call it. I'm talking about up past where I was sitting. And I had okay seats. Like I was not unhappy with where I was sitting, decent view, as I've already talked about. But when you're charging $300 to $400 for a second round game, just because a website with a bunch of fees can do it, I gotta say that's it rubbed me the wrong way. Am I wrong in this, Austin? Like I'm a capitalism fan. If you can make the money off of it, if people will pay it, I get it. But there's a part of me also that says, hey, we want to pack this thing out. Maybe don't charge double what the actual face value of the ticket is. Is that unfair of me to complain about?
Look, I don't think it's unfair. I think we're getting into our crotchety old man segment
Yes,
here,
I've
but
been there about the free throws, so don't worry, I've already there.
welcome to it, folks. But look, I get it, and I think you raise a good point on if you truly want to pack this thing out, then you kind of got to help each other out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not even saying let's give away these tickets. I think many, like you said, are willing to pay face value and even a little then some, but double and triple is where you get to be a little extreme.
Mm-hmm. The face value for the majority of the basic tickets for 3 sessions. Now, I've looked this up several times, so I've had a lot of people try to argue me with this. It was $240 to be at all 3 sessions for the original ticket price, which makes a ticket per game you could attend or session you could attend $80.
Right.
I was willing to pay up to $200 to go to the second game. You couldn't get anybody to even sniff $275. Like I think I saw $265 one time. Like people were laughing at you for $275. So I just wanted to be crotchety for a second and complain about that. So next time, Auburn fans, when we have an opportunity to help each other out a little bit, let's help each other. Let's make a little money, just a little money on the side, and help each other out. But that's my TED Talk for today. So thank you for coming. What I do want us to spend our last few moments here discussing is the good things about March Madness. As you and I sit here speaking live, I will just go ahead and pull the curtain back. In the corner, I do have the FDU 16 seed who've already upset the number 1 seed, playing Florida Atlantic, trying their darndest, and now only down by 3. So you may see a reaction live here in a second. I doubt we're gonna last that long with the time we have left, but it has been a fun March Madness, has it not, Austin?
Oh, it absolutely has, and I also have it down here. You've inspired me to turn it on as well.
Well,
and
don't
FDU
you
is
react. Don't you react to
no,
it
no
without if you're ahead of
reaction.
me.
I think you're ahead of me, but FDU is going to get the big spotlight because they became the second ever 16 seed to take out a one by beating Purdue in the first round. But everything about this, whether it's a 16 versus a one, a 15 versus a two, any upset or any chaos is what makes March Madness so much fun. And I see people talking and griping all the time about, well, this isn't really the right way to choose a champion, or this isn't really the correct way to figure out who's the best in college basketball. Well, who cares? It's a lot of fun, and sports are meant to be watched. Sports are meant to be enjoyed, and if we want to get nitty gritty, sports are meant to make money, and the NCAA tournament makes a heck of a lot of money, Kyle.
Oh, they
And
do.
and so I love March Madness, and I especially love the first two rounds when you can have multiple basketball games on at the same time.
Yep.
You mentioned watching FDU, FAU right now. Miami and Indiana are also, TCU and Gonzaga are also on. And it's just been like that the last 4 days. And
Yep.
it is an absolute blast. I think it's the best sports couple of days out of the whole year. It's fantastic. It really is, and I've loved every second of it. I feel like this year has been unique to any other year, even though there's been plenty of upsets and plenty of chalk games. Every year you get something different. Every year you get a different Cinderella and a different fan favorite people fall in love with, and
Yep.
it's so much fun.
And listen, there are great stories outside of the FDU upset in the first round, however long this goes for them. There's a Princeton story that's pretty cool right now that I think is kind of getting lost by overshadowed at the moment by FDU, 15 seed beating a 2. There's been the cool thing about, both Alabama the state schools being able to go and play in Birmingham, which we've already addressed. There's just a lot of cool things with this one. And every year, like you said, March Madness is unique. There's something to latch on to. And I completely agree. This is the best sports event, period. At least this weekend. I would say this because people probably can't argue. This is the best sports weekend of the year. I will go to war with anybody on that, and I'll probably win that argument. I love football. Football is always going to be my favorite sport to watch, but what you get in a matter of, help me do math, Austin, 24 hours in a day times 4.
Oh, you 96?
96 hours where you can, as you said, just go, here's one monitor. Here, you can literally have 4 monitors go, and you still might miss something because if something doesn't overlap the right way. It's awesome. It is just awesome. And how awesome is it that Auburn is a part of it?
Yes. No, absolutely. I talked to a little bit about that. The fact my whole experience of March Madness has changed now that Auburn is a perennial competitor in the NCAA tournament. It's always been fun. It's always been a blast to make brackets, watch all the games at one time, and talk about it and root for the Cinderellas every year. But now that I have a legitimate rooting interest outside of who I picked for my bracket and which 15 seed I have going in the Final Four, it's having Auburn in it amplifies it all the more, and maybe amplifies the stress of it a little more too. Sure, but it makes it all the more fun, and it's still, we've talked at length about how even a down year for Auburn is making the round of 32, and we've talked about don't lose sight of that and how special it is that Auburn is competing for championships legitimately every year. Uh, Thinking back to, I can't imagine not having Auburn in it now. And we've already seen it within the Bruce Pearl era when there was a canceled tournament and when Auburn had self-imposed ban from the tournament. And it's just not the same anymore. And so I'm so glad Auburn's in it. I'm so glad that we get to experience that facet of March Madness on top of all the other craziness.
It's so good, and it's just made my love for basketball for this time of year even more that we affect the outcome of this. Think about it. Auburn nearly took down Houston, who a lot of people have favored to win this whole thing, even though they were not the number 1 overall number 1 seed, just because of it's going to be in their hometown, the Final Four, and all that stuff. And they are a great team. I mean, you saw that last night. Even when the chips are down against them, they found a way back into the game. There are great teams abound. One of them's in the state. There are Cinderella stories. There are just crazy things happening. One little final thing. I feel like there's been a lot more injuries in this particular March Madness. Maybe I'm just looking for that because of a few early ones or something. I'm not talking about like some life and death things, but there's just been some hard ankle turns and sprains and things like that. There just seems to be a lot of energy around this March Madness, and I've enjoyed the heck out of it so far.
Yeah, I haven't really noticed it too much. I can think of kind of hearing about it more, I guess, but I think too, and I don't know if this is necessarily a motivation for the players. I think we're removed a good bit from those who had to deal with the COVID year, but I don't think any of us will ever forget what it was like to not have certain things. And March Madness is absolutely one of those things. To take it for granted, of just and that we could get a whole lot deeper of just everyday life things that were stripped from us. But to not have March Madness and the joy and the fun that it brings to just everyday life, especially like in the first, second rounds, we didn't have for a year. And I don't think anyone will ever forget what that was like. And so I hope that now it kind of provides that extra level of emphasis for each player and each coach.
Yeah, it's a special thing, and it's something that we'll look forward to every year. And we continue to hope that Bruce Pearl continues his relevancy to this. We continue to hope that the trajectory that Johnny Harris is providing with her basketball program will have a factor in the women's March Madness, where we can show that particular area of basketball how fanatic the Auburn fandom can be when we are given a reason to be. I would love that to have a time of year where both men and women are a part of the true March Madness, the women's and men's NCAA tournament, and just watch us go crazy for both of them. It's going to be a good thing when that arrives, and I believe that it'll be here in short order. But we will leave that here for now. Still some basketball to watch outside of Auburn basketball, but we'll do some wrap-up stuff for them in the coming episodes as we kind of wind some of those things down. We appreciate you all being here for this episode 28, the Auburn Experience podcast. On the way out, Austin, if they want to talk to you, where can they find you?
Yeah, if you want to come talk to me or watch me give free lessons on how to shoot a free throw, you can find me at Austin G. Scott.
And if you want to watch me or talk to me about how much I hate missed free throws, you can find me on Twitter at Kyle Loomis24. We appreciate y'all being here for this episode. Till we talk to you again. War Eagle.
War Eagle.
All right, folks. Would you like me to tell you where I'm at with FD, or you just want to leave it?
I just had a time. They just took a timeout.
Yeah, they are down by 6 on mine.
Kyle, they are fighting. They are fighting.
They are fighting hard.
Let's not forget though that connection here in this game. You don't know it?
Oh no! KT Harrell's on.
KT Harrell is on staff at Florida Atlantic.
There's actually a lot of here. Okay, we'll take some. Austin, honestly, do you want to go so you can finish watching this, or do you want to stay?
I mean,
here?
I've got it right here.
Okay.
I'm
I didn't want to make you feel like you had to stay, but here we'll take some comments and questions here as we see fit. But where was I going with that? So there were a lot of Auburn connections everywhere. KT Harrell, FAU. You had Desi Stills today with Kansas State. There was a couple others as well that
Trey Alexander's at Creighton. He decommitted because of Desi Sills, who ended up not coming. Bruce mentioned something else. Jiraki Walker plays for Houston.
Yeah.
Bruce mentioned we finished second to a lot of guys in this tournament, and it's very true. There was something else though directly. I can't remember.
So is this true? What WT brings up, that they're the only tourney team to never lose in the first round? Is that true? I know we're 11-0.
I know we're 11-0. I've never heard that though.
We need to go look that up for confirmation.
I mean,
that's pretty cool.
I would think that there's like a minimum of like some team could have gotten in and won their first game and they've never gotten back. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Where's Frankie Sullivan at? Do we remember?
No, I'll tell you.
Look at it up. Okay, we're gonna watch to the end of this FDU game here.
Did they just foul?
I actually wasn't looking at it, but they are milling about like somebody was fouled, and they do not look happy. FDU does not look happy, so I'm assuming things are not looking good for them.
I think Frankie Sullivan's the head coach of James Clemens High School.
Is that really where he went? Man.
which that's where my brother-in-law teaches. So how did I not know that?
Devin says my kids had an Auburn party on Thursday leading up to the game, and they had fun watching the games with me. March Madness is the best. It is.
That's fantastic.
It's awesome. It's awesome what you want to hear. Did they just miss their first free throw? Or did I just? No. Now they're shooting. Gosh, you hate. Oh, they missed both free. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't be revealing.
Was that 1-1? That was a 1-1.
Was it?
Yeah, if I use it 7. Oh, he missed the layup. Oh gosh, I almost fell.
Oh, we almost had the moment again. We almost had the moment again.
Oh, he missed the layup.
There's been a lot of that with them tonight, unfortunately. That there has not been a lack of opportunities for them tonight.
Just missed it.
That is tough to watch.
Too much on
it. Robert said this during the show. Auburn should practice against G League teams of the NBA. And don't put it past Bruce Pearl. He's a very creative guy.
Look, we already played the Israeli NBA team, it felt like.
Yeah, who was it? I think it was an opposing fan.
Yeah, I saw that.
You saw that tried to say that you lost to Israel. I'm like, do you realize that there are NBA players on that team?
Like, yeah, there was like 3 NBA starters on
and we were beating them in for the majority of the first half, I believe. And I think we were winning at half, weren't we?
There's going to be very few NCAA teams that are going to win that game. Yeah,
right.
I saw that. I just kept scrolling. I didn't want to pay attention.
That's like when I see comments like that, I'm like, did you really think this was going to go well for you? If you don't come prepared with your facts.
Also, like what? Like I don't care if it's not an NBA team or not. Like it's a country national team. Like
yeah,
they're legit grown men.
Yeah. Well,
that's
yeah,
right there. Congratulations, KT Harrell.
Yeah, we're happy for KT, but we would have loved to see FDU continue their story. But man, they put up a fight. And they, for a while in this game tonight, looked like they were about to take down FAU and move on to the Sweet 16 and be the first one there. But that's why March Madness is great, folks. That's just why it's awesome.
Yeah. This coach for FDU cracks me up, man. He is a talker. Like he takes 10 minutes to say 2 things.
Yes, and it's like take a deep breath, man.
Yeah, it's okay. Just calm down.
I know you're excited.
Yeah.
Just take a deep breath.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I used to do that a lot when I first started podcasting, and I've tried, and I still do it to some degree. So I've really tried to kind of slow my cadence down and, talk.
You're right.
A little bit more concisely. All right, let's see it. We'll take some final comments and questions, and we'll get out of here. Is it not AU to seem like you're going to steamroll an opponent and end up losing? Yes, that's true. That is true. Good question.
That's the.
How are your?
Mine's doing okay. I think I've lost a decent bit of my Elite Eight, I think, but I've got my champion left. I don't have my runner-up. That's it.
There's always this dilemma for me every single year. How much chaos do I want? I want chaos as a basketball March Madness fan, but I only want the ones that I pick.
That's right.
Let me just be honest with you. At 4 p.m., 5 p.m. Central Time, on the way to the Auburn basketball game, as I watched Arizona, my champion, fall, I said, it's all fair game now.
Bring it on.
I said, the pain is here. Bring it on. Let's just have nuts. And we did with FDU. So I'll say this. This is one of the worst brackets I have ever put together. And I've called some very normal things. I don't count out Tom Izzo ever to make the Sweet 16. He always does.
Never.
He will always make the Sweet 16. He's got the most Sweet 16s of any active coach, I think.
I'm not a Michigan State fan, but the T-shirt I want is one that says, and it's out there. I've seen it. It says January, February, Izzo, April, May.
That's a good one
because
that's exactly a good one. I want that now.
How bad? I don't care how bad they are. They're going to win. They're going to win in the tournament.
So that never count on Gonzaga to do what you think they should do. So if you think that they're going to win it all, they're going to fall out in the first round. If they're not supposed to win it all, they'll make it to the championship game. Like Gonzaga is the most hard to predict. So like, I just can't count on them for anything. Those are a few of the things there. And I was going to put Creighton into one of the, never count on them to look legitimate, but they made it to the Sweet 16. So they've proven me wrong on that. So,
yeah.
All right, sir. I am going to say goodbye to everybody as well, because I want to go enjoy the last few moments I have of March Madness. A couple of things as we head out here. If you can, keep in mind that our next scheduled live stream will be Wednesday night, our Auburn Family Night, where you can call in at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Please join us for that and invite a friend if you can. We may have some others and probably some other videos, so just stay tuned. Don't have those in the schedule yet. But if you haven't, be a subscriber if you can to be part of that giveaway. You can be a channel member, a Booster Club member. All of those good things are available for you in the description links. Check them out if you can. Help support, keep the lights on, all those good things. We just appreciate you guys hanging out with me in Austin. So from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. And until we talk to you again, my friends, we'll talk to you very soon. War Eagle.
War Eagle.